It's time to discuss the saltiest fighters in the UFC. These are the guys that just can't get over a loss. Maybe they're holding the grudge. And some of them actually have a good reason for being salty. Maybe someone ruined their career, or the fans aren't giving them enough credit, and they have a reason to yap about it. I shouldn't say yap. They have a reason to complain about it, or at least to bring it up. But most of these guys are salty, all right? And we're going to talk about this. We're going to get into this right now. The first guy that I'm going to add on this list is none other than Aljamain Sterling. Honestly, guys, Aljamain Sterling is almost at peak saltiness level. Now, I like Aljo, but he just cannot for the life of him give O'Malley some credit, which is crazy because Aljamain Sterling seems like a pretty reasonable guy, but for whatever reason, this loss just eats up at him every single day. And I'll give you an example. It's like every single interview that I listen to from Aljo, he says the same thing about that loss because, of course, he gets asked about it a lot. And he gives this response as if O'Malley shouldn't actually be given full credit for that win because he was rushed into the fight. I'm talking about Aljamain Sterling, that the UFC pressured him. That wasn't him at his best. He was overtrained. Listen, it'd be one thing if Aljo lost because he twisted his ankle in the first round, then he cracked his rib, and he just gassed out because he was overtrained. He lost because he made a stupid mistake. It's a game of inches, and you got cracked. All right? You shot takedowns, and you failed them. That's why you lost. He did well in the first round. O'Malley had a broken rib. Aljo's out here saying in interviews that real analysts will tell you that that isn't the best win. It was pretty fucking clean if you ask me.
I prided myself on beating people at their best all the time, never shied away from the toughest challenges. For me, as a purist, I got to look at a matchup like that and go, well, was that the best version of this guy that he fought? Like, yeah, he won. I'm looking at all those X factors and be like, well, what happened? What was at play here? The same way he had an injury coming in with his ribs.
This guy's acting like there's anything more to it than him getting punched in the face because he made a serious mistake. You admitted that you made a mistake. Is this not part of the fight game now? So if you get Cory Sandhagen's back, Sandhagen made a mistake. We can agree with that, but that's part of the game. It's about capitalizing off of mistakes. It's not a cheap win. He makes it sound like O'Malley, yeah, man, did he really beat me? He fucking beat you. Of course he did. Always also talking about the early stoppage. To be fair, it was a little bit of an early stoppage. I will at least admit that. I think Mark Goddard was in there. Fucking Mark Goddard, man. But it's almost as if O'Malley should be ashamed of being confident with that win, which is just nuts. And I like Aljo. I was rooting for him in this fight, but he's salty as hell about this loss. Aljo needs to get over this. He needs to just accept it. Let's get on to the next one. Conor McGregor. I'm going to put Conor in the B tier. Now, this may come as a surprise to you guys, but Conor's just salty about that Khabib loss. He really is. You could tell when people bring Khabib up, he gets mad. He gets angry. His face turns red.
A guy to come into the cage and break them back into place, the thing ballooned, that way.
The Nurmagomedov lost. Dustin Poirier lost.
Where's he gone, Bo? Where's he now?
He's retired.
Yeah, well, why? He went sprinting. He's gone. Shit, his jocks came fat and riding off. He done nothing in the sport. All he done in the sport.
You bring up Khabib around this guy, oh, he's getting stubborn on you. He's gritting down in his teeth and getting salty like an Irish turnip. He's a salty Irishman. And you know what? That's fucking hilarious. Conor McGregor is funny as hell when he's salty, bro. But he's a salty guy about the Khabib loss and the Dustin Poirier loss. Because he thought he was going to roll right through Dustin Poirier and fight Manny Pacquiao. And I'm talking about that rematch before he got angry and said, there was no check. Before that, he was so pissed that little old simpleton Dustin Poirier beat him in a fight. He wasn't losing to Khabib. He wasn't getting fluked by Nate Diaz at 170 pounds. This time, he was losing to little old P-head Poirier. And that stung McGregor. That stung the big egomaniac Conor. And you know what? That's cool. It makes it entertaining. Conor McGregor, when he's pissed off, is peak entertainment. But of course, his life seems pretty good. He's loaded. He's got anything the heart desires. And he's made it. He's made it. He's the big Don of the UFC, the big fat cat. So he doesn't have that much to be salty about. But when you bring up Khabib, this guy gets red-faced. I'll tell you that much. On to the next one, Tony Ferguson. We're going to put Tony in that A tier. Tony Ferguson he's been a salty Walty for ages. I mean, Tony Ferguson's on that salt and vinegar diet, and you can tell at his pre-fight press conferences when he's ranting on the Mac life and talking about, you don't know me. Man, fuck you.
So that way they can do that for somebody else. They pay it forward. It's called pay. You guys say pay it forward on 3. 1, 2, 3. Pay it forward. Y'all fucking lame. Seriously, I'm about to be done with this interview.
A little more exciting to fight the guy with Dana White privilege, right? I mean, you nailed it with him.
I don't think that shit's very funny.
No?
You do, maybe.
My baby boy, we don't comer nada,
You know, absolutely. Hold on, I'm talking, brother.
You know, he's just pissed off at everything, and he has a reason. Because the UFC was screwing him over for a long time. They put him against Anthony Pettis when he deserved to fight Khabib. And Tony these days is just turning it up every single time he comes in on fight week. He even teamed up with the fucking saltiest man on the face of the earth, David Goggins, who's another salty man, who's so salty about life that he just runs and suffers and beats himself up day in and day out to get over it. And Tony just hates when people utter the word retirement. All right, he can't stand it. And I think that that's probably a conversation that comes up a lot with his team and his family. And he always has that chip on his shoulder, man. They go, fuck you. You got to have some respect. You freaking tell Tony to retire. He's going to smack you up on the face. Jamal the Salty Man Hill. They don't call this man Salty Mal Hill for nothing. And I'm going to put him in the S tier. You try to critique this guy, and he's pulling out the whiteboard. He's getting the chalkboard. He's writing down the X's and O's. He's writing a whole philosophical proof as to why you're wrong. They call him Sweet Dreams. Well, I call him Sweet Time because that's what he's spending on these long-winded responses.
You can look on the pound for pound list right now. I don't know if y'all can pull it up or whatever. So there are multiple people on this list that have lost, been knocked out and all that. You've never even seen me rock. But yet and still, I don't get that same respect. I don't get that same respect of, oh, he lost. If I was to actually lose.
He's talking about the UFC screwing him over by not putting him high on the pound for pound list. Hey, buddy. Glover was coming off of a loss to Jiri Prochazka. Glover was low on the pound for pound list. He was like number 14, number 13. Jiri beat him. You beat up the oldest version of Glover Teixeira to date that had just got softened up by Jiri Prochazka. It was a good win. It was a dominant win. Beautiful win. But you beat one old man that just retired and was coming off of a loss. And Jamahal Hill's acting like he was some dominant champion. I mean, Jan Blachowicz and Magomed Ankalaev were the guys that were next in line, and the only reason they weren't winning the belt is because they went to a draw. Then they called you. Then they had you fight an old man. So it's like, listen, it was a great win, but you're not going to get to the top of the pound-for-pound list for that one win. And Jamahal Hill is just so salty towards the Alex Pereira fanboys, and I get it. I mean, I can't stand when these Pereira fans say that Jamahal Hill doesn't deserve to be in the cage with Alex Pereira, as if Alex is some god and how can you even look him in the eyes? Of course he deserves to be in there. Jamahal Hill is excellent. I think he has a chance to beat Alex Pereira, and I cannot wait for all the Twitter wars that Jamal's going to get into with Pereira fans. I can't wait to go to the press conference or to watch the press conference, And I just think that Jamahal Hill is going to have a massive chip on his shoulder, and it's going to be entertaining. Cory Sandhagen. Cory Sandhagen is one hell of a salty wealthy. Actually, no, I'm going to put him at the C tier because, listen, even though Cory's his own guy and he's not just going to follow the sheep, he does kind of get a little bit upset when guys like O'Malley or guys like Umar Nurmagomedov are getting the clout. And he talked about it in an interview that came out today. He was saying that these guys have famous guy privilege. Maybe I should start tatting up my face. Maybe I should start hanging out with some rappers. When this guy's making comments like that, you're a little bit salty.
There's famous guy leverage. I won't be around the bush. Like, there's famous guy leverage. I'm trying to acquire some famous guy leverage. I think maybe I should start hanging out with rappers and, maybe making myself look less like a normal dude than what I do already, So maybe that'll be my 2024, rebrand is I'll get some tattoos on my face. I'll color myself and I'll start hanging out with some rappers.
A little bit salty that the world isn't totally based on merit sometimes. And they give O'Malley the famous guy privilege because he's better for the promotion. And actually, in its own way, that is kind of merit because that creates value for the company. But I understand what his plight is. But you already know when you got Sandhagen of all people, which is like a real pure soul. Sandhagen does not care about fame. When you got Sandhagen considering getting face tattoos, that man's a little bit salty. All right, let's not deny that. He's a little bit salty, man. Bobby Green. I'm putting Green in the A tier. You know, Green comes off as this guy that just cannot give people credit that beat him. Fiziev beats him. Man, he was on steroids. They called him out on steroids. Makhachev beats him. You know he was doping when he was a kid, right? These grapplers are boring as hell. It's like Makhachev finished you in the first minute. I know that's not as exciting as a big gnarly KO, but a lot of grapplers in the lightweight division are fun. Arman Tsarukyan's a fun fighter. Speaking of Arman Tsarukyan is also going to go in the A tier with Bobby Green. Don't like Arman that much. I think Bobby Green's saltiness is just kind of funny. It's entertaining, and it's just a big bunch of coke. Bobby Green, he eats Coke cereal in the morning. Really. But if you ever shot a takedown and you beat Bobby Green, he's calling you boring. He's saying you're not a real fighter. He's saying that, Makhachev, he could wrestle with Makhachev if he actually had a training camp. And, Bobby Green does have a wrestling background. But my point is he's a salty guy when it comes to his losses, for sure. You've either done steroids or you're just boring, so it doesn't matter. Arman Tsarukyan has the thinnest skin ever. Bobby Green called him boring, which is no surprise, and Arman actually got butthurt about it and tried to chase down Bobby Green while he was alone in a hallway and tried to punk him with like 10 guys, tried to intimidate him. And this wasn't him trying to sell himself and market himself and create some McGregor-Habib bus moment. This was just Arman being too emotional. He made a fool of himself, and then he gloats after Bobby Green receives one of the latest stoppages in UFC history. Gloats about Bobby Green taking all that damage. I don't like it at all, man. He holds a grudge. So let's get on to the next one. Woodley. I'm putting Woodley in there. Woodley as a champion was insanely salty. Now, to be fair, when Woodley beat Darren Till, it seemed like the whole MMA community, all the hardcore fans started to clap for him and started to cheer for him. He had finally won us over, and then he just went downhill, getting dominated, losing 15 rounds in a row to Usman, Covington, and Burns, and then getting finished by Vicente Luque. But before the Till fight, this guy just complained nonstop.
I feel like, Wonderboy was promoted as he was a champion. I'm the champion, and I don't get the respect I deserve. Don't have him walk out with an American flag like I'm from, a different country. If I was a different complexion, I think people and fans would treat me a different way. I'm by far the worst treated champion in the history of UFC.
About how the UFC didn't promote him and whatnot, and it's like, dude, you had some really stinky, boring fights. That Damian Maia fight sucked. Again, Woodley is the type of guy to say, come on, man, I deserve $500 million. This guy's getting $500 million. Yeah, but McGregor has the fucking sauce. McGregor has the freaking dream-like scenario KOs that could only happen in your wildest dreams. He's trash-talking. He's a larger-than-life character. And there's Woodley, 2 punches around, saying that he deserves to be treated like McGregor. Again, that rematch, the Wonderboy rematch, not such a great fight. And then he just complained all the time and said that the UFC has to treat him like he's Tom Brady, which is just nuts. But he was a little bit salty during his title run. Let's get Dustin Poirier, man. Dustin Poirier's a little bit salty. Dustin Poirier always seems like he's on the verge of getting angry in his interviews. No matter what the question is. You could ask him what he had for breakfast. Man, I had some fucking cereal, man. Had some cereal, buddy. You beat him up in a fight? Actually, Dustin Poirier, what's he like in his losses? Does he accept defeat gracefully? I think he does. He actually accepts defeat gracefully, but he's a sore winner. Remember when Dan Hooker had the audacity to just be confident going into this fight? Remember when Dan Hooker said he wanted to fight Justin Gaethje around the time of him fighting Dustin Poirier? And Dustin Poirier went up to him after he beat his ass when Hooker was on the verge of passing out after the beating that he received. And Poirier went up to him and said, hey, you going to beat Justin Gaethje now? You going to beat Justin Gaethje now? Yeah, get in your fucking place! He didn't exactly say it that way, but you get my point. Hey, man, good shit, man. Yeah, fucking Poirier would have freaking knocked him out again if he was allowed to. Poirier holds a grudge like no one else. He's a salty man. Okay, he's a sore winner. Michael Chandler fish hooks him. Shitty move from Michael Chandler, I will say that. Shitty move from Chandler. Poirier, man, he's a scumbag, man. He's a scumbag, man. Bedtime does a better scumbag impression than I do, but Poirier's a fucking salty walty, man. This guy loves his salt and vinegar chips. On to the next one. You know what? Overratedly salty. I'm putting DC in the justified saltiness tier. People love to riot when DC says anything other than John Jones is my father, right? They love to hate on him. But man, Jones did kind of fuck this guy's career. He popped multiple times. He had to pull out of fights like a day before. Just screwed this man's career over. Head kicked him when he was on the sauce. He cheated to win. Simple as. Now, of course, I think he would have won anyway. I think he would have beat Daniel Cormier anyway. And some people actually say that Cormier must have been on the sauce. If you look at his T levels, More Plates, More Dates says that they were on the rhinoceros zone. But my point is that Jon Jones made this guy's life a living hell. And DC has to live with fans just rushing to shit on him anytime he critiques Jones. He could critique Jones about something that's actually reasonable. Something that's reasonable. He could say, hey man, I guess we're not that excited for Stipe Jones. And Jones tweets out about him, and all the Jones warriors come to riot against DC and say, man, but you lost to Jones though. Every time anyone gives DC credit, Full Violence just made a post about him. People forget how good DC was. Half the comment section, he lost to Jones though. He doesn't matter. And I think it's a little bit crazy, to be honest. He's an all-time great. Yes, Jones is a better fighter than him. But at the same time, Jones is the reason why he wasn't fighting all those years. Jones was the reason why he was pulling out. It was his responsibility to show up and be clean in those fights, and he could not hold up that end of the bargain. I think people shit on him too much. All right, justified saltiness. And he's way less salty than people think. Adesanya. Where am I going to put Izzy? I'm going to put Izzy in the B tier. He doesn't have that many moments where he's super salty. And I'm going to put Pereira in that B tier with him. Izzy was salty about Pereira knocking him out back in the day. And of course, he piped up with the whole bar talk. This guy's a drunk sitting in a bar. Here I am as the UFC champion. He could never amount to this type of success. That's a little bit salty. Okay? And what did he do? Well, he summoned Alex Pereira. He summoned Thanos. And Alex Pereira, salty as hell, did not let that slide, held a little bit of a grudge, and look at where he's at now. Champion. Beat Adesanya, took his belt, moved up a weight class, beat the guy that beat Izzy in Jan Blachowicz. Of course, Izzy knocked him out too. But yeah, both of these guys I think are similar. Their saltiness has to do with each other. Belal Muhammad, Belal's kind of salty, man. I think justifiably so, though. Justifiably so. He's salty about Leon Edwards dismissing him. Bro, Leon Edwards got dismissed his whole career. His whole career. And now he's doing the thing to Belal Muhammad that Leon complained about while he was on the come up, which is dismissing a guy that has earned a title shot. That may not be super popular, but has earned a shot based on merit. And of course, Belal Muhammad is going to call out Leon's hypocrisy. He's going to call out Leon for turning into the guy that he hated. So I think that Belal is justified in his saltiness too. And he's got a lot of haters that say things like, Belal sucks, he can never beat anyone good, when his resume is actually great. And of course, he's right to pipe up about that. Let's get on to the next one. Aspinall. Let's get Aspinall on this list. Salty as hell about Jon Jones not wanting to fight him. Now, I would be too. So actually, I'm going to put this in the justified saltiness tier. I was about to put him in the B tier because he is salty, but it's justified. It's justified, man. The fans don't really love that fight. Jon Jones should just retire. I mean, I actually think that's best for his legacy. If you're a Jones fan, then you understand that him holding out for old man Stipe and not wanting to fight the clear-cut interim champion who should be next in line is just not a good look for your resume. And of course, Aspinall knows this too, and he can leverage this to make himself look better because the conversation starts to be, well, Jones is ducking Aspinall. That's what the average fan is running with, and it kind of makes sense. Jones is ducking him for good reasons, but Aspinall's calling it out because he can. He knows Jones will never fight him. Justified saltiness. Also, he simply just wants to fight the greatest fighter ever. Who wouldn't? So I understand why he keeps talking about Jones because he knows he's probably not going to get that fight, but the best chance he can give himself is pissing Jon Jones off enough when Jones is on the sidelines to just get in his head to make Jon Jones, who is a competitor at the end of the day, who does have an ego, so Jones actually bites on the bait and accepts a fight. Moreno. Oh, fuck. I don't think we have a good tier for Moreno. Moreno's not salty at all. I wanted to use Moreno as an example for a guy that isn't salty at all. Moreno has lost a bunch of fights. He's lost a fight to Figueiredo. His fans can be salty sometimes after he loses. He's lost to Pantoja. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I just never hear him making excuses. So he was going to be my example of a guy that doesn't make excuses. Maybe I'll make a whole new tier for Moreno. There we go. Made a whole new tier for him. No salt. No salt for Moreno. Okay? Can I? There we go. No salt for Moreno. Here he is. Let's keep him in there. He's the example for no salt. I needed a couple of guys that wouldn't be in the A and B tier. Next up, let's go with Ciryl Gane. No salt. Ciryl Gane does not give a fuck if he loses or wins. Now, I'm sure he would like to win, but do you see this guy beating himself up over having the most embarrassing performance in UFC history? Again, he got dominated by Jones. He probably would have lost anyway. But I would have at least have liked to see him kip. Remember when Merab Dvalishvili was getting submitted by Ricky Simone? And you see Merab kipping and kipping and kipping. He's like David Goggins when David Goggins jumps in the water with his hands and his legs tied together to try to swim. And I'd like to see some effort, right? If you're gone in the guillotine choke, just freaking, just do something. Do something to show us that you're actually trying to get out of it. But Gane just accepted defeat. And you know Gane just does not necessarily have that hunger. Gane loves the lifestyle of being an athlete. He probably likes the clout. He loves being an ambassador for the sport. He loves to represent France. He probably enjoys competing because he's so much better than some of these other heavyweights. For real, though, like, if it wasn't for Aspinall and Jones, Gane would probably be a champion. I still think he has a good chance to beat Pavlovich. Gane's a great fighter, but he's not salty because I just don't think he's got that grit, that dog in him. He doesn't have that ego like some of these other guys have. I thought he did in the build-up to the Jones fight. I thought he was one of those guys that tells you that he didn't study for the test to try to make himself seem humble when he does really well on his tests, when in reality he's studying for 12 hours every single night. The guy that shows up to the basketball court eating gummy worms and Oreos and slides, when in reality he was fucking practicing 6 hours earlier at the crack of dawn, okay? And he was freaking going through the X's and O's. He was going through the basics, running through plays on YouTube. And then he shows up to the basketball court looking disheveled like he doesn't care and dunks on everyone. But he wasn't actually that guy. Gane is just, life on easy mode, I guess. But, hey, when talent doesn't work hard, you're going to get beat by a guy that is talented that does work hard. Big Paulo Costa, a little bit salty. I'm going to put Paulo Costa in that B tier. Again, everyone in the B tier is salty about one other fighter. Izzy salty about Pereira. Pereira salty about Izzy. Conor salty about Habib. And Costa salty about Izzy. Bringing up the wine excuses and whatnot when he just shit the bed and had an absolutely embarrassing performance. Gane didn't try to complain. He's not upset that Jones beat him. He's just happy to have been in the same cage as Jones. Costa was making excuses the next day saying that he would beat Izzy in a rematch. We all know that's not the case. I'll put him in the B tier. Said that he was drunk the night of the fight. Maybe he couldn't sleep, but hey, that happens to a lot of guys. I'm sure a lot of guys can't sleep before a title fight. Charles Oliveira, salty. Another chance. He gave you another chance. You're the one that pulled out. Was it all right to pull out? Yeah, you shouldn't have been sparring, but either way, you got injured. Of course you're going to pull out. That's okay. He didn't do it on purpose. He didn't want to get injured. But Makhachev didn't duck you. He's just not giving you the chance right away. It's like Cory not giving the chance to Umar next. Because Umar had his layup. He had his big moment where he was going to get his big bump up in the rankings. You had your little rematch chance after getting dominated the first time. You were lucky to get that rematch so quickly. A lot of people would have made you fight twice, but he's loved by the fans and he's very entertaining. To be honest, I wanted to see the rematch. But you're not going to get a third crack at it right away when you pulled out of your rematch chance, especially since the first fight was dominant. Charles is a little bit salty about that loss. Fiziev. I'm putting Fiziev in there, man. Fiziev is a bit of a salty guy, too. Let's be honest with ourselves. Look at what he's saying about Justin Gaethje. He's saying that Gaethje poked me in the eye, and that's why I started losing that fight. Well, first off, I think that Fiziev has a massive ego when it comes to his striking because he's Mr. Muay Thai. He's the king sensei in Tiger Muay Thai out there in Thailand, and he takes it very serious. He's embarrassed if someone gets the better of him in a striking match. Understandably so. All of these guys have egos. Otherwise, they wouldn't be fighters. And I think that there may be some merit to that. The idea that, I got poked in the eye and I started to slow down a little bit. But he always slows down in his fights. He always gasses out. He was making it seem like he was the better guy. Now, to be fair, he was whooping Gaethje in the first round. And the eye poke did change the course of the fight. But it's only really the difference between Fiziev winning the second round or not. He probably would have lost the third anyway since Gaethje has a better gas tank. Fiziev slows down. I think it's a little bit justified to bring up the eye poke because that is something that actually could have changed the course of the fight. But you know Fiziev gets a little bit salty about getting outstruck by Mr. Grunt, Mr. Homer Simpson, Justin Gaethje, who just doesn't have the same finesse. Fiziev, if he gets outstruck, it's okay if it's a guy like Dustin Poirier with the perfect combinations on the feet. Sometimes Dustin slugs it out. Or a sniper like McGregor in his prime. But you're getting outstruck by Gaethje? It's not the best look. Okay? Let's just be real. Gaethje and his Homer Simpson moves, he's a high-level striker. I'll give him that, though. But he does look sloppy sometimes. But he's not. He's actually really good. Joe Pyfer going in the S tier. Joe Pyfer is salty about everything. Doesn't matter what it is. You compliment this guy, he might slap you.
Bill said, you shouldn't want to be another person, but it rubbed everybody the wrong way. Suck it. Suck it long and hard, brother. That's all I got to say, because I'm me, and you guys want to be me. Fuck you. So
Joe Pyfer is just angry at the world, and it's entertaining. He has some of the best pre-fight interviews ever. These are the two guys. These are the two leaders of the Salty Brigade. Jamahal Hill, Joe Pyfer. They were cornering Brendan Allen, who's an A-tier salty man. Like, you had all three of these guys in the cage. This was like a fucking salt mine at the time when they were cornering Brendan Allen after his fight with Paul Craig. I know you guys don't like the way I say Paul Craig's name. I can't help myself. But, yeah, man, I have Pyfer in the S tier. And people from Philly just tend to be extremely bitter about everything. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just the accent, but people from Philly just seem to be bitter all the time. Brendan Allen, man, this guy holds a grudge. I think he hung out with Dricus du Plessis a few years ago, and he just has a animosity when it comes to Dricus du Plessis that is just hard to wrap my head around. It boils down to this, and again, this is a little bit weird as to why he holds a grudge like this, but Dricus du Plessis commented on a tattoo that Allen had. They went out to lunch after they trained with a bunch of the other guys in Florida. This was maybe 5 years ago. Allen has some date written on his arm, and Dricus said, what is that, your record? And if you were to read it as a record, it'd probably be a shitty record. And Allen just didn't get over this joke.
What did he say, though?
So we went to lunch, me, him, my friend Tuco, and one other person. And we were sitting there, and I was dealing with some stuff for my bank. And I had a sleeveless shirt, so it set out like this. And he looks at me and he goes, what is that, your record, 2-7? I was like, oh, okay.
So it started with a tattoo joke then, yes.
Yeah, but it's like, you don't know me, so it's like, you don't have the right to joke with me like that.
And he's never gotten over it. He brings up Dricus du Plessis in every interview and says, man, fuck that guy. That guy's a piece of shit. He's a weirdo. He calls him corny, mad disrespectful. How do you say that to someone that you don't even know? Like, you can't just make you can't have a nice wisecrack to banter with someone that you're getting acquainted with. You can't joke around with them about, hey, is that your record? I mean, maybe it was some really sentimental date on the arm of Brendan Allen. Dricus doesn't know that, and I doubt it was. It was probably like his daughter's birthday or whatever. But you get my point, man. Brendan Allen, he's always complaining. He's always bitching. It's okay, though. I'm not a big fan of him. I'm not that big of a fan of him. And Allen just thinks that his shit doesn't stink, too. Just watch his interviews. He's always talking about all the other fighters that have done more than him in that middleweight division as guys that are kind of mediocre. But it's entertaining. I'll give him that. By the way, being salty is entertaining, okay? These guys are all entertaining with their saltiness. It's fun, bro. Next up, Jiri Prochazka, S tier. You guys may be surprised with this one, but Jiri Prochazka was super salty after that early stoppage. I know people try to paint it out to be a moment where Jiri is like the Chad that just doesn't care, the indifferent Chad. I saw a meme like that where there's like this fan that's freaking out, the Soy Jack fan that's freaking out, and then there's a photo of Jiri, and he's like, lol, I don't even care about the early stoppage. He did. All right. Jiri Prochazka was pissed. The reason that he gave for not complaining about it right after is because he didn't want to embarrass Mark Goddard, which implies that Mark Goddard should feel some shame for a mistake that bad and that devastating for Jiri Prochazka. Now I'm joking here. Yuri's not that salty. There's a little bit of salt. I'm going to keep him in that C tier. Do not think of Jiri as this perfect monk. He is just a human at the end of the day. He can have that salty emotion. And I think it's hilarious to think about Jiri Prochazka being super pissed off about an early stoppage. But because he has that samurai code, he has to suck it up, and he's got to be like, you know, all kumbaya with everything. It all happens for a reason. And you know what? I kind of respect Jiri Prochazka for that too, which isn't even a bad thing. I think that's cool. Of course he's human. And you know what? He's being humble. He's turning the other cheek. That's pretty cool. But he's still a little bit salty. Okay, Strickland. Strickland was salty. You know what? Strickland's kind of salty as hell. I'm going to put Strickland in the A tier. This may surprise some of you guys, and you may say, Strickland doesn't give a fuck. I mean, he doesn't really care about the consequences of his words. Like, he doesn't care about getting canceled, or he doesn't care about people having an issue with his politics and philosophy and whatnot. But he complains about his losses. He says things like, everyone knows I won the Cannonier fight. No. Even though most people think you won the Cannonier fight, they're biased and they haven't rewatched that fight. And I think the Cannonier won, and a lot of people think the Cannonier won. Now, of course, Strickland does have a just gripe when we're talking about the Dricus du Plessis fight, because I do think that there's an argument that he could have won, but it wasn't a total robbery. And he's out here saying, how can this guy be walking around feeling like a champion when the whole world knows you didn't win that fight? That belt don't make you a champion. That sounds very salty to me. It just does. Whereas you think Strickland's the kind of guy that's going to say, oh, fuck it. Who cares, man? He's the champ. Don't mean anything to me. I don't really care. It's just a fucking belt. Fucking belt, man. Well, it actually matters to you. And that's fine. He's a competitor. Like, people get it twisted all the time. Strickland wants to win. It's good that he's salty about this stuff. He has an ego. If Strickland really didn't give a fuck, then he'd be down in there in the no salt tier with Ciryl Gane. Ciryl Gane is not the mentality that you want Sean Strickland to have. Fighters need to be a little bit delusional, okay? Moreno's just a little bit of an odd case because he is a dog and he does train hard and he does want it badly, but he doesn't make any complaints. That's awesome. But it's okay for Strickland to be salty when he loses, to complain about it. It just catches me off guard a little bit because I don't expect a guy like Strickland, who is so, I don't give a fuck about this, I don't give a fuck about that, I don't give a fuck about this, to complain about it. But it doesn't surprise me because he is that kind of competitor where a loss is going to piss him off nonetheless. And I think that's fine. I think that's okay. And that's it, guys. That is it. But yeah, don't get it twisted, man. Just because Strickland gives off that attitude, that rebellious attitude, does not mean that he still isn't a fighter that has an ego, that wants so badly to win, that hates the idea of someone getting the better of him in a fist fight. It's okay to admit that he's a little bit salty about this. It's okay to think that Strickland lost. Totally fine. But that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Until next time.